Hello buddy, it's Wyvern here with another bit of Total War Warhammer 2 Quick Match gameplay. This time around we are on Shaggoth's Stand, playing as the Forces of Chaos against the Forces of the Lizardmen. And this is really a matchup that has gone through quite a bit of change over the last 2 years. Back at release of Mortal Empires, it was, I believe, generally considered to be a bit Chaos favored. But lately, well, I say lately, but in the last year or so, of course, Lizardmen have gotten 2 DLC, and with that they've gotten a bunch of new units, a bunch of updating, and generally this match is now considered a bit Lizardmen favorite. I'm not entirely sure just how much. I'm not exactly a Chaos or Lizardmen main, but I do believe the sort of balance has shifted. The tides have turned, and I figured, though, you know what, let's give it a shot. I haven't touched the Force of Chaos in a while, and it would be fun to just try them out, see how they perform against Lizardmen, see if some of the tricks and fun stuff I used to run still works. So for the build here, we are going to be running, of course, Kolek as our lord, and Kolek is, of course, a beefy lord, definitely one of the, I believe he might still be the best duelist in the game, or one of the best duelists in the game. Obviously, there are others, Karl Franz, Luther, very, very powerful combatants there. Of course, you do have the Blood Dragon Vampire Lord, and all that sort of stuff can throw a wrench in plans, but Kolek is still a very, very powerful duelist. He can take on basically everything the Lizardmen can throw at him in a 1v1, except I believe the Shredder of Lustria, that comes down to leadership, but he costs like half the Shredder of Lustria, so that doesn't really matter. Who cares? Besides that, we do have Foe Seeker on him here. We do have Lord of the Storm, obviously very nice to get a little bit of extra damage if my opponent went very infantry heavy, and then Standard Eye just to keep my troops in the fight, but also to protect Kolek if he's sort of getting gooned, because you will sometimes see these melee-oriented goon squads from the Lizardmen. Not as common as it used to be, but still definitely potentially can happen. Alongside him, he does have a Dragon Ogre Shaggoth buddy, so these guys are going to be acting as a big sort of wombo combo gooning squad, able to dive in on key targets, pressure them back, and flex where needed along the battle line. Now, alongside them, for our caster, I've actually brought a Chaos Sorcerer of Metal. He is only mounted on a horse, so nothing too fancy, but he does have some decent spells here, Transmutation of Lead, as well as the Plague of Rust, granting him some pretty good support options. I went with a lot of Marauder Horsemen, so I wanted Plague of Rust to help them deal with heavily armored Dino units, and I figured that Transmutation of Lead would be good to protect Kolek as well as the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth if they got caught in a serious close quarters engagement, especially against, say, a Shredder of Lustria or some sort of Dread Saurian or Carnosaurs or units like that. Better probably than a Final Transmutation, because Final Transmutation does damage, but not that much to big, beefy single entities, really. Frontline is a mixed bag, some Marauders there to generate with. As you'll notice, I don't have 2 of them. It was actually a bit of a miscalculation. I ended up pumping all these chevrons and these Chaos Warriors with great weapons, but had I taken off Foe Seeker off Kolek, I would have, and taken these chevrons off, I would have actually had enough money for another Marauder. That would have been nice, but oh well, what can you do? 2 Chaos Warriors with great weapons, in my opinion, a very solid unit in this matchup. They can go toe-to-toe with basically everything Lizardmen can throw at them, with the exception of Temple Guard. Chosen here in the center, in my opinion, a very solid unit in this matchup, very beefy. There's very little Lizardmen can do to kill them quickly, and they will beat the crap out of anything the Lizardmen throw at them. Chosen are just excellent infantry, and especially stacked on the Weird Spawn here, who will be debuffing enemy armor, applying that armor sundering effect. The Chosen will just be absolutely excellent combatants there. And the shields actually kind of matter. They help a lot against the poke that you'll sometimes experience from Lizardmen. You'll see, of course, skinks with javelins, chameleon skinks, that sort of stuff. And while the AP on those weapons isn't huge, it does add up, and the Lizardmen can have a lot of it. And besides that, we do have a bunch of Marauder Horsemen. Not much to be said for these guys. They have some decent baseline AP with Plague of Rust. They should do very well. They can just kind of poke down my opponent's troops, threaten his flyers a little bit, potentially snipe out key targets in melee. They're not terrible melee combatants, so if I throw them in against, like, I don't know, the Umbral Tide, they shouldn't do terrible, at least on the charge. And so we do have 4 of them here, providing a good bit of screening and coverage. Now for my opponent, he is throwing things back to 2017 with Crocky G as his lord, which is quite the surprise. Definitely sort of surprising me at any rate. Krokar, after his nerfs and after the rework of Cold-Blooded, has really fallen off the face of the map for sort of competitive value. I don't think he's a terrible lord, but he's definitely one of the weaker ones, or probably one of the weakest ones on the Lizardmen roster. But here with Sacred Spawning of Zodal, he is going to have that additional beefiness. He does have Swiftness of Itza for that repositioning, and Hand of the Gods, which is going to potentially help him snipe out Kolek, or maybe the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, or probably the poor Chaos Sorcerer Metal. Up in the skies, he does have a Skink Chief. This guy's simply brought his Blowpipe and probably going to be looking to chip down my Sorcerer, perhaps looking to chip at Kolek. Honestly, either can be a good investment. The Skink Chief is just so cheap that no matter what you put him on, he's probably going to generate his value back unless you try to like whittle down zombies or something. A Skink Priest of Beast is in there as well. He's got Amber Spear as well as, of course, Transformation of Kadon. So looking to get those very annoying summons in. Once again, probably looking to goon out Marauder Horsemen or probably my Sorcerer. Maybe help with Kolek, that sort of thing. Frontline is a pretty crappy front line, mostly skinks, as well as a single unit of red crested skinks here in the middle, simply looking to block the charge, blunt the charge, stall things out, while the missile play and the cavalry and the monsters do the real work. And I'm not sure it can work, but I don't know if there's enough missile play to really deal with the Chosen and the Chaos Warriors especially, because we do have an Ancient Salamander. This guy's very brutal against Chaos. He does a lot of splash damage, can really wipe out blobs of infantry, but at the same time, it's just one unit, and Umbral Tide, much more against large. The Bastiladon, not really great against Morally Infantry. We can see Hand of Gods going out there and whiffing on Kolek completely, I believe, so doing absolutely nothing. And then there's a bunch of Cold One Spear Riders as well as some Cold Ones here in the back. And none of these units are really great against infantry. Obviously, Krokgar can sort of cycle charge, and the Bastiladon kind of can, but definitely I think my elite infantry corps here should be able to just roll through my opponent's front line. So I really just got to protect my single entities here. Now immediately we can see that that very annoying Salamander is chipping away at my poor Marauders. Here I do let myself get ambushed. The Marauder Horsemen lose 9 models there to the Umbral Tide, so very good play there for my opponent. Unfortunately, the Chaos Sorcerer Metal is going to start getting chipped down by the Skink Chief, so I'm going to try to counter here with the Marauder Horsemen as my infantry line moves to engage. Crocky G is going to counterattack here on Kolek as well as the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, but we're just going to pull away and avoid that damage as the first Manticore of the game gets summoned. In the meantime, the Skink Chief here getting staggered a bit, but still doing damage to the Chaos Sorcerer of Metal. It's just very frustrating. There's very little you can do against that as Chaos. You basically can't do anything, to be honest. So yeah, he's just getting sniped down, but I do try to get some value. We drop a Plague of Rust on the Umbral Tide. We managed to get in there and actually doing quite a bit of damage there with our Marauder Horsemen on the charge. Unfortunately, this guy's not going to last very long. Manticore dives in, and my Chaos Sorcerer Metal is going to go down, having done practically nothing this game. Unfortunately for my opponent, though, Krokgar getting beaten down. The line here is breached, and my opponent's forces are just crumbling. We can see over here the Chaos Warriors with great weapons beating their way through the Skink cohort. They have taken a little bit of damage, I believe, from the Javelins and this very annoying Ancient Salamander, but they are doing work over there. They are doing the God's work. The Skink Chief here does take quite a beating, but I'm forced to flee here with the Marauder Horsemen because I don't want to get caught by the Feral Manticore or the Feral Cold Ones. In the meantime, Hopback cohort here pursuing the Marauder Horsemen who have eliminated my opponent's missiles. And this was really one of my big priorities here. I wanted to get rid of these key missile units. Umbral Tide against Kolek will wreck his face. I want them gone. I don't want them on the field. Other main target would be the Skink Chief, but unfortunately can't get at him. But we are leading this Hopback cohort on a merry chase, wasting my opponent's time there. The Bastiladon here bogged down fighting Chaos Warriors with great weapons. I actually think it'll probably lose that fight, to be quite honest with you guys. If it just stays there fighting, maybe not, but I believe so. The Chaos Warriors with great weapons have very, very solid combat stats. In the meantime, though, Crocky G, you're trying to fight it out with the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth and the Kolek, but it's really not happening. There's so much support in here. It's getting armor sundered by the Weird Spawn, beaten down by the Chosen, who do hit pretty hard. These guys do have 44 weapon strength. Amber Spear there goes down. Not even sure what that was against. I think Kolek, but it whiffs. Amber Spear, not the greatest against single entities, in my opinion. At least not if you can't get it sort of stationary. But unfortunately, Beautiful Hand of the Gods there just chunks Kolek for a massive amount of damage. So Kolek is now very low. 2800, not ideal. Manticore is coming in, getting that rear charge. His leadership is buckling. It's down to 10. So here I am just running for dear life with Kolek. We do get our horsemen in here, breaking these resting skinks a little bit, and then pulling away, pulling through our formation of Chaos Warriors here, who will then be able to chunk down the Hopback cohort. The Hopback cohort does not want to be in that fight at all. Now, unfortunately, the Ancient Salamander here did fight its way clear, but we are able to clean up the Umbral Tide over here, so that is certainly a win. And our Marauder Horsemen are largely intact, and Krokgar, despite a Rev Crystal going down, has been chased off. And now, keep in mind, I still have 2 Dragon Ogre Shaggoths. I do have Kolek, who's kind of beaten up, obviously, but he is still alive. He is still in the fight, and this other Shaggoth is at 4,400 HP, so he's in very good shape, and he's beating the crap out of his Bastiladon. And if I can get rid of that, my opponent is going to be in a very grim spot. Now, Krokgar here does heal and recover before the Marauder Horsemen are able to get in there and chase him off the field. Unfortunately, with Sweetness of Eitzel there, he sort of recovers and chases these guys off. it's whatever. But we do rout him again, actually, with our missile pressure. Amber Spear there going in. My opponent now desperately trying to snipe out Kolek, because Kolek, of course, is a very important target. But I wanted to get rid of this Bastillodon. We succeed there. This very annoying Ancient Salamander still chipping away. And I can't really commit anything to deal with him right now. My opponent still does have some cavalry on the field. He still has these guys. He still does have this unit of Cold One Spear Riders over there. And there are actually some skinks over here that chase the Marauders way off the field. So I don't want to get isolated and caught out with my Shaggoth all by his lonesome all the way out here and then shipped down. I want to try to keep my formation a little intact. But we are able to remove the Bastillodon from play here, chase him off. Marauder Horseman whittling down the Paco-Pac cohort, and I absolutely hate that name. It's murder on my voice trying to just pronounce that. It's so strange. But we are able to sort of whittle these guys down. The Marauder Horsemen taking a little damage here. They are getting, keep in mind, they are getting poisoned here by the Skink Chief. But we just kind of pull away, looking to stall, drag these guys away. And Kolek actually rallies one leadership, but the Mountain God is not giving up just yet. He is here to do the Chaos Gods proud, and he pivots here, pops Soul Seeker, and we are going to look to re-engage here. And he's on 370 HP, so right now he could easily die, but I don't give a crap. We're going in. The cohort there takes a massive swing, 250 HP gone. Marauder Horseman swinging from the side, and these guys just rout. 2 swings. Kolek, showing that he is not to be trifled with, crushes them into the ground, turning those poor Saurus into bloody mist. Meantime, the Skink Chief here trying to stay in the fight, but this is not ideal. He's now trapped with Kolek bearing down upon him, surrounded on all sides, and beaten to pulp. Now, Krokar here trying to sort of skirt away. The Ancient Salamander being pursued by the Shaggoth. At this point, I've kind of removed most of my opponent's cavalry. The Feral Cold Ones bogged down, getting crumped by the Chosen. Look at the Chosen. 54 kills, or sorry, 38 kills, but 50, and most of their fighting was done against single entities or low model count entities. They are up to 40 kills. They've gained a chevron, and just beating the crap out of these Feral Cold Ones. Still have 54 models. Just an insane unit. Krokar here does try to engage on the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth. It's kind of a last-ditch effort, but he is toppled to the ground, beaten down. Unfortunately, there was no epic Clash of Titans against Kolek here at the end. Just kind of went down with a whimper there. But is what it is. Salamander is going to break to army losses. My opponent's Castor is being pursued there at the back. And a pure victory for Chaos. Now, in hindsight, I'm honestly not sure the choice of Kolek was the appropriate one. Kolek ended up getting focused very heavily, and my opponent had some very meaty connections with Hand of the Gods. If his initial Hand of the Gods had connected nicer, that match might have gone a lot worse for me. And I'm not sure, not entirely sure. Kolek was the better choice than, say, for example, Sorcerer Royal. Or maybe even, honestly, Archeon, just because Archeon would be a smaller target. But then again, if Archeon took a hit, he'd lose a lot more HP of percentage. Because he's only got, I believe, 5k HP versus Kolek's 6,500 almost. But that said, Kolek did pull back in the end. He actually managed to beat the crap out of that Paco-Pac cohort. He beat down the Skink Chief when he finally came to ground. Definitely beat down Krokar when they were kind of engaged in that central pocket. And did work there. And same with the Shaggoth. 15 kills, but 2 chevrons gained. Just putting in the work against all these single entities that the Lizardmen put on the field. As for the rest of the build, the poor Chaos Sorcerer just got annihilated. And denying that with Chaos is very tricky. I'm not entirely sure how... Besides like playing very static and playing very defensive, I'm not entirely sure how you defend your Chaos Sorcerer from sniping by, for example, the Skink Chiefs. There's not much you can do about it. If you put your Sorcerer on a Manticore, you're going to have to chase the Skink Chief or run away from him. Either way, you're going to be forced out of position, and you're paying way more to do that. I feel like no matter what you do, you're going to get sniped down. Your Marauder Horsemen are not... Maybe if you brought a Fire Wizard, because a Fireball can counteract the Skink Chief. Maybe that would have been a better idea. Bring like a Lure Firecaster, get Fireball, get Cascading Fire Cloak for the protective value, and... that would have probably been the better idea there. Bring Fireball, in hindsight, now that I think about it. And then maybe get some Marauder Horsemen throwing axes to retain that AP factor, or that armor, anti-armor value. And you could cut some of these chevrons to free up the gold for that. Chaos Warriors and the Chosen did work. Chosen gained an entire chevron there. They were just trading so efficiently until they kind of fought all these units over the course of the game. I do believe they got in some hits, obviously against the Red Crested Skinks, but they also fought the Bastillodon. They fought against Krokar when he sallied in. They fought against the Paco-Pac cohort. and all these sort of elite units, and did quite a lot of work there, just bogging them down and trading tit for tat. Word Spawn, just excellent work there as well. So all in all, I was pretty pleased with the build. I do think the caster choice was a mistake, and probably should just swap him for a Firecaster, get Fireball in the field, and be done with it. Overcast a few Fireballs, and you can probably delete the Saint Priests. For my opponent's build, I don't think it's terrible, but I think the biggest downside here is that it invests a boatload into anti-large. It doesn't really bring much to counteract infantry. And it sounds weird. Infantry is usually not a win condition. But with this build, if I can take down if I take down Krokgar and I take down the Ancient Salamander, then my opponent basically cannot win with this build. Even if you have excellent cycle charging with the Cold One Spear Riders, and you're really good on your micro with the Bastiladon, trying to cycle charge Chosen, supported by Weird Spawn and Chaos Warriors with great weapons, is going to be very difficult, even if you manage to use all this. And plus, in my opinion, this anti-large is not ideal for countering single entities, Proton Infantry. The Cold One Spear Riders, while good defensively, just cannot fight against a single entity camped up on top of some Chosen or Chaos Warriors. In my opinion, you'd be better off with more Carnosaurs or more missile play, one or the other. But I think that there was just a massive investment here into anti-large, and the anti-large wasn't really versatile enough to handle the infantry. My opponent's infantry found my opponent's single entities found themselves isolated towards the late game, and it was basically just the Weird Spawn, Chosen, and Chaos Warriors beating the crap out of them one by one, while my opponent was desperately trying to snipe out the Shaggots. But I don't think that would have been, even if he managed to snipe those out, it would have been the game changer. So if I was to make a recommendation, I'd probably ditch at least one of the, maybe ditch one of the cold ones. Well, I guess it would depend on what style you want to go for. But you could, for example, get 2 more Salamander hunting packs, or maybe Razor Dawns, actually, because of the AP values, just to have some more missile pressure against large stuff, as well as a better counter to Marauder Horsemen. So maybe drop like the Pot Kopak cohort. If you still want to keep Krokgar, of course, is an iffy pick. But if you want to keep Krokgar, you could cut like the Pot Kopak cohort, cut the Feral Cold ones, maybe even downgrade some of your Skinks, whatever. But get a few more Salamanders on the field. Maybe drop the Red-Crested Skinks just to generate a little more width. Because these guys are not going to trade well, really. I don't think it's anything Chaos brings. Maybe Chaos Warrior Halberds. But I feel like most Chaos Infantry builders will steamroller these guys. And the stuff they do beat is just cheap, and you can beat with anything else anyway. So, yeah, I think really my main recommendation would be to cut some of this cavalry in favor of units a little better against single entities. Maybe try to get another single entity in here to counter the infantry, or some magic a little better suited to dealing with infantry. Though, not sure what that would be. Maybe a Lord of Heavens with Wind Blast, but then you do give up the Manticore. I don't know. I guess one of the biggest problems here is trying to build around Krokgar, and you need the heals at that point, that sort of thing. So it's tough, but I do think that trying to get, like, I don't know, yeah, an extra few units there would be nice, or an extra few anti-large units that would be nice. Because there just isn't anything to do with it. Yeah, it's just not great against single entity large, or that great, and not that great against infantry. And I feel like if you can at least easily deal with one of those two, then you could potentially snowball at your advantage a little bit. Like if you could safely snipe out Kolek and the Shaggoth, then Krokgar, even if you fail with literally everything else here, Krokgar can cycle charge the infantry. Krokgar, and then with the Salamander's help, just sniping them down. Or you can use the Salamander to snipe your opponent's infantry down to the point where their model count is so low that they can't effectively brace and stop your Cold One Spear Riders units like that from cycle charging that. But yeah, that's just my 2 cents there. So, well played to Loki here. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you found it entertaining and fun, as usual, leave your comments, opinions, thoughts, and all that down below. I will do my best to respond as soon as I can. I do thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now.